For $500 million, my parents used every trick imaginable to deliver me to the bed of the Sterling family's heir. Alexander Sterling said he would marry me, then turned around and bankrupted my family's company. I tried to escape once, but he caught me and locked me up, even putting shackles on my ankles. Everyone thinks I'm incredibly pathetic. Little do they know, I'm screaming in my heart, "This is awesome!" At the Sterling Group's centennial anniversary gala, dignitaries and celebrities gathered, clinking glasses and exchanging pleasantries. The grand banquet hall was decorated in opulent style. Although the Morrison family had nearly $200 million in assets, in this kind of setting we were only worthy of sitting at a table in a remote corner. It was strange, really. Usually for events like this, my parents would only bring my younger brother, saying the scar on my face would only embarrass them. Why today did my mother take a cup of sobering tea from a waiter and hand it to me? "Here, Sophia, drink this to sober up. It's almost over." Without thinking much of it, I obediently drank it. After a while, I felt something was wrong. Why did my head feel even dizzier? Seeing this, my mother immediately gave my father a look and smiled mockingly. "Oh dear, look at you. You can't handle any alcohol at all. Now you're drunk." They both stood up and supported me, my father apologizing to the others at the table. "Sorry, everyone, this child is drunk. We'll take her home first." After entering the elevator, my mother raised her hand and pressed the button for the 16th floor. This was it, 1601, Alexander's private presidential suite. "Hurry!" My father threw me on the bed and pried open my mouth, feeding me a pill. Moments later, I felt my breathing quicken, my whole body burning. The drug mixed with the alcohol in my system, making me even more uncomfortable. "Don't blame me, daughter. With that scar on your face, no one will want you for a marriage alliance. As long as we secure Sterling's order this time, when you're old, I promise your brother will give you $1,000 a month for living expenses." My mother was a little unhappy, angrily saying, "Robert, how dare you? All the money belongs to our Marcus. Why give it to her?" My father carefully hid the camera in the greenery on the table. "Okay, let's go." About 20 minutes later, the door was opened, and the person's footsteps were very unsteady. The next second, he fell on top of me, his breath rapid and hot. The room was filled with amorous atmosphere and boundless passion. The next morning, I couldn't help but groan in pain when I turned over and immediately woke up. Looking up, the man had fair skin, messy black hair, lightly knitted eyebrows, a high nose bridge, and a face with distinct features, but also slightly soft. He was truly exceptionally handsome. I didn't dare make any noise. I just wanted to escape as quickly as possible. Carefully prying open his hand, the dress from last night was torn and couldn't be worn at all. I endured the soreness all over my body and walked to the other side, picking up his clothes to put on. I was startled as soon as I opened the door. My parents were blocking the doorway, their eyes red with visible excitement. My mother tightly grabbed my wrist, and my father threw a stack of freshly printed photos along with a cooperation agreement at the man who had just woken up. "President Sterling, sign it!" Alexander sat up and glanced at the photos, feeling the strangeness in his body and immediately understanding that there was a problem with the last glass of wine he drank last night. He had been set up. Alexander flipped through the contract while picking up his phone and making a call. "Assistant Davis, come to my room." "President Sterling." Assistant Davis arrived quickly, looking calm and composed despite the chaos in the room. Alexander coldly ordered, "Find the camera in that potted plant and destroy it. Also investigate who tampered with my wine last night. Finally kick all these people out." "Yes." My father immediately flew into a rage. "What do you mean, Sterling?" Alexander sneered with disdain. "You're not the first to try to scheme against me, but I swear you'll be the most miserable. Aren't you afraid the video from last night will be leaked? Aren't you afraid I'll give it to the reporters?" My father continued to threaten, clearly pleased with himself. "Don't forget yesterday was your Sterling Corporation's 100th anniversary." Alexander didn't even bother to acknowledge such tactics. He scoffed. "Go ahead and release it if you dare. I want to see which reporter would actually publish it." My father was already starting to feel guilty, his voice weakening slightly. "Then, can I exchange my daughter for this contract?" You can't expect to get away with paying nothing at all." Alexander seemed amused. "An 80 million contract and you're asking for 500 million? Robert, your daughter must be worth a fortune. Davis, what are you waiting for?" Assistant Davis stomped on the surveillance camera, shattering it, and then forcefully dragged my father out, taking me and my mother along with him. We were all locked outside. "No, we can't just leave like this." My father was breathing heavily with anger. "Patricia, go bring those reporters up here and find some people who love a good scandal." I watched them coldly, my heart unmoved. I've always been the one who sacrificed. It's okay. I'm used to it. My father gripped my struggling wrist with all his strength, afraid I would run away. A few minutes later, my mother led a large group of people upstairs with great clamor. Most of them were reporters, and a few were rich housewives I'd seen at the banquet last night, people who have nothing better to do than gossip. I began to struggle violently, feeling uneasy. I didn't want to be broadcast online. I didn't want to become a source of ridicule. Seeing this, my father gripped me even harder. I felt like he was about to crush my wrist. He reached out and twisted the inside of my arm several times, warning me viciously, "Try moving again, you dead girl. If you ruin my plans, I'll beat you to death." My mother suddenly sat down on the ground, completely abandoning her refined lady persona, and started wailing, slapping her thighs. "Everyone come and see. Alexander Sterling is simply going too far. He's threatening our company and forcing us to give him our daughter. I never thought he'd turn his back on us after getting what he wanted." I already knew all about my mother's ability to speak sweetly, distort the truth, and lie without blushing, but this time I thought she was destined to fail. Who is Alexander Sterling? In just 3 years, he purged the Sterling Corporation and firmly took control. What kind of woman couldn't he get? Why would he force himself on someone like me who has a disfigured face? People with even a little bit of brain power wouldn't believe such nonsense. My mother suddenly got up and ran to my father's side, pointing at me. "Look at the clothes my daughter is wearing. It's the outfit Alexander Sterling wore at the banquet last night. My poor daughter, she met the wrong person. Alexander forced us." The reporters immediately aimed their cameras at me. "Miss Morrison, is what your mother's saying true? Did Alexander Sterling really use your family's company to coerce you into surrendering yourself to him and then turn his back on you after getting what he wanted?" My mother immediately nodded repeatedly, interrupting to answer. "It's true. Of course it's true." Then she pinched my lower back, urging me, "Speak." I was trembling with anger at my mother's shamelessness. "It's not true. The clothes I'm wearing are replicas. I left the banquet early last night. Nothing happened." The reporters exchanged glances, asking, "So are you saying that your mother is deliberately framing you?" Seeing that the situation wasn't good, my mother immediately hugged me and cried loudly, "Don't pressure my daughter. She knows our family can't fight against the Sterling Corporation, so for our sake, she's willing to lie and swallow this loss." My mother immediately ripped open my clothes. I couldn't stop her with just one hand. "Look, this is the proof." The reporters immediately started snapping photos of the marks on my body, occasionally letting out gasps. Immediately lowered my head, using my bangs and loose long hair to cover my face, and tightly gripped my collar with my left hand. The door behind me suddenly opened, and Alexander walked out, having finished washing up and changed into a blue suit. "Haven't you caused enough trouble?" Assistant Davis squeezed through. "Mr. Sterling, everything is ready." Alexander nodded to indicate he understood, lifted his foot, and walked towards the elevator, not even glancing in our direction. The reporters carrying their long lenses and cameras chased after him. Assistant Davis stopped them at the elevator entrance. "Please move to the lobby downstairs. Mr. Sterling will respond to this matter later." My father pulled me along to follow, and my mother, taking advantage of no one noticing, pinched me hard a few times. "If you dare to say anything out of line later, I'll rip your mouth off. If this matter is ruined today, see how I deal with you when we get back." I felt terribly uncomfortable. My wrist was already swollen from my father's grip. My limbs were weak, and I just wanted to find a place to rest. I sat at the far left of the press conference table, listening to the reporters' sharp questions. "Mr. Sterling, did you really coerce and intimidate the Morrison family, forcing Miss Morrison?" Mr. Sterling, did you really have conjugal relations with Miss Morrison last night? Mr. Sterling, this is the first time you've had a scandalous rumor. Does Miss Morrison have special significance for you? Alexander tapped on the table, and the hall immediately fell silent. Everyone, please take a look at this video on the screen. My parents were hugging each other at a computer, their faces excited to the point of being grotesque and twisted. It's done. We're rich now. Ha ha. Quick, record and save it. Tomorrow morning, notify the reporters downstairs and tell them there's big news about Sterling. If Alexander Sterling doesn't sign this $500 million contract tomorrow, we'll let the reporters release the video and sue his ass. Alexander crossed his legs. Do I need to say anything more? Now these two people specifically staged this farce for money? My father was still unwilling to give up, struggling and roaring, You, surnamed Sterling. You're the one who forced me. It's a fact that you violated my daughter last night. Don't try to deny it. My mother forcefully pulled me up. That's right. If everyone doesn't believe it, I'll take her to the hospital for an examination right now. She hasn't even taken a shower. I lowered my head, feeling incredibly ridiculous. See? This is the kinship I've been looking forward to for over 20 years. The two people who should be the most important to me are so eager to push me in front of the public for their own benefit. Alexander also walked towards me, sneering with disdain. Truly birds of a feather, insatiably greedy. He walked up to me and lifted my chin. As our eyes met, I felt his expression suddenly become very strange. Was he frightened by the scar on my face? He suddenly took off his suit jacket and draped it over me, blocking the malicious gazes below. I have indeed been admiring Miss Morrison for a long time, and what happened last night was out of my control. From today on, she is my wife. I abruptly raised my head and looked at the person in front of me, my eyes filled with disbelief. Why? Was it to threaten my parents? No, I don't believe it. He can't miss my parents' terrible attitude towards me. Could it be like in the novels? Keeping me by his side just to torment me? I subconsciously turned my head to look at my parents. These two were already overwhelmed with joy, crowding around Alexander shamelessly, calling him son-in-law with great affection. I was taken to the car through the back door by Alexander. I didn't dare to ask him why. All along I had nothing and no capital to fight against anyone. I'm grateful to him for taking me away from that den of iniquity. My mother only got pregnant after 3 years of marriage. When she was pregnant with me, she had morning sickness from the second month until she gave birth. In the end, her water broke, but I couldn't come out naturally, so she had to have a C-section, suffering a great deal. My father always wanted a son to inherit my grandfather's property, so they especially disliked me. On my birth certificate, my mother filled in the name Marcus first, bringing my younger brother before I even turned 1 month old. They threw me to my grandmother's house under the pretext of being busy with work. 3 years later, my grandfather became seriously ill. He only divided his family property between his sons and grandsons, and I just happened to be a girl, so my family received 1 share, while my eldest uncle's family received 4. My grandmother was a second wife and didn't have any children. My grandfather only left her a 2-story house in the countryside, where I stayed for over 20 years. My grandmother passed away when I was 16. My parents still didn't take me away after the funeral. Left behind children crave affection even more, and I was no exception. On Independence Day, when I was 21, my mother called me and asked me to come and reunite with them, and even sent me some new clothes to wear on the plane. To be honest, I was incredibly excited and happy at the time. My parents finally remembered me. After landing, my parents drove me to a restaurant. Sitting in the private room were a woman who looked very elegant and a strange boy. My mother started praising me effusively. I never knew I was so outstanding in her eyes. The woman across from me asked me to take off my mask so she could see me. I did as she asked, and the boy immediately started crying. A ghost! So scary! Her expression also changed, and she took the boy away from the table with a displeased look. My mother turned my face to look at it. On my left face was an ugly centipede-like scar, winding and curving from my ear to the corner of my mouth. She slapped me in anger. What happened to your face? Are you deliberately ruining my plans? I was stunned by the slap, tears welling up in my eyes. How dare she ask what happened? A scar from years ago, and she's only finding out about it today. Later, I heard that the woman's family was in the real estate business and was very wealthy, but her son was born mentally challenged and couldn't even take care of himself. My mother was taking me to meet him for a blind date. See, my face is so ruined that even an idiot finds me repulsive. My parents confiscated all my identification documents and even applied for leave of absence from university for me. They left me at home to do the work of a nanny day after day, year after year. Oh, right, they fired the nanny, saying I couldn't eat for free in this house. How ridiculous. I'm eating for free. What about Marcus, their good son? He does nothing all day long and eats like a pig. My younger brother is 7 years younger than me. My mother insisted that she damaged her body when she gave birth to me, which is why her good son only came to her womb 7 years later. So all the family property belongs to my brother and none for me. Actually, I secretly looked at her medical report. It was clearly a blocked fallopian tube. What does that have to do with me? Why blame everything on me? My father later took me to change my name, not because he had a change of heart, but because times were different and my identity had changed. The name Marcus would subject them as parents to strange looks. The name Sophia was not what they wanted. It was what my grandmother had picked for me beforehand. After that, I ushered in countless blind dates, no matter how old or ugly the man was, or whether he had psychological or physical defects. As long as he could bring high profits to my father's company, I had to attend and be picked over. Unsurprisingly, none of the blind dates were successful. Rich people care about a woman's appearance without exception. At the very least, she has to be presentable at banquets. For the first time, I began to be grateful for the scar on my face, but I didn't expect them to be so bold this time to actually dare to scheme against Alexander Sterling. I don't believe Alexander doesn't care at all. Is he afraid of the video of my parents being leaked? So he resorted to this measure? I stared blankly at the coat he placed on my shoulders. This man actually helped me just now. I already have someone I like. I won't marry you. Please rest assured. This was a wuss lie. I thought the atmosphere in the car suddenly froze, and the following 2 minutes of silence were suffocating. He said, "You better forget him. You're already my wife. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that nothing will happen to him." Him? Who is he? The person I fabricated. Alexander looked very angry, but why? He took me to his villa and announced to everyone that I was the mistress here from now on. He took me to his room and said softly, "Go wash up first. I'll have the nanny bring you clean clothes. Get a good night's sleep." I nodded and accepted his kindness. After today's drama, after another, I'm really tired. I woke up and it was already dark. I walked out of the room and the nanny immediately greeted me. "Madam, dinner is ready." I followed her into the dining room where the table was full of food. "Mr. Sterling doesn't know what you like to eat, so he asked us to make more. Madam, just pick what you like to eat." It felt like my heart was instantly filled. It was the first time someone had treated me like this. I held back the tears in my eyes and started to gobble down the rice. After I was full, I thanked the nanny and prepared to leave. "It's late. I'm going home." The nanny's expression was a little strange. "I'm sorry, madam. Mr. Sterling instructed that you are not allowed to leave the villa." I was a little shocked. What exactly did Alexander want to do? But my ability to remain expressionless had been honed to perfection. "Okay, then I'll just wander around." While the nanny was cleaning up the kitchen, I still sneaked out. I wanted to take all the things left in the Morrison family back with me. I want to continue to go to university. With diploma, I can find a good job. I know I ultimately don't belong here. The Morrison family was eating dinner. Seeing me come back, my parents smiled and welcomed me in an abnormal manner. "Have you eaten? Did you come back alone?" I knew they wanted to find Alexander. "Yes, he's very busy with work, so he had the driver send me back." "Of course, work is important." Marcus also obediently called me "Sister, you're back." How ridiculous. He usually disdains talking to me at all. I ignored him. My father pressed me down on the sofa. "Mr. Sterling said he wants to marry you. Is that true? When is he coming to propose marriage? Have you talked about the betrothal gifts? How much is he offering?" I looked at my father's profit-seeking face with disgust and deliberately lied to him. Of course it's true. We talked about it roughly, and he'll give 100 million. My mother exclaimed, "My goodness, 100 million." My father gave my mother a look. He took out a contract and handed it to me. "Your mother and I aren't greedy. Why ask Mr. Sterling to pay so much money? Like this, you let him sign this contract. We can both benefit from the cooperation. You can marry him without any betrothal gifts." My mother chimed in, "Yes, yes. We're not selling our daughter. Why do we need so many betrothal gifts? We only ask for a chance to cooperate with Sterling Corporation." I watched these two people singing a duet, speechless. It's too ironic. Do they really think I'm stupid? I pretended to agree first. Looking at the smiles of success on their faces, I knew my chance had come. "Give me back my documents. I need them for the marriage certificate, money transfer, and everything." My mother and father were discussing the terms of the contract, wondering if they should change a few clauses. "In the first cabinet on the left in my room, go get them. Usually their doors are locked as if I were a thief, but not today." As I was getting my things, my mother asked, "When are you getting your marriage certificate?" "I want to be there," my heart pounded. I brushed her off. "These wealthy families choose an auspicious day for these things. I'll let you know when." I went back to my room and packed my belongings into a backpack. "I'm leaving now. He's waiting for me to go back and eat dinner." My father yelled, "Make sure he signs the contract. Don't forget, we still have the video." Got it. Alexander would have to be crazy to sign. As soon as I walked out of the apartment complex, Alexander's car stopped in front of me. "Sophia Morrison, get in. We're going home." I obediently got into the passenger seat. "Aren't you comfortable at my place? Why did you sneak back here?" I retorted, "Why are you locking me up, saying I can't step out of the villa?" Alexander smiled. "Wasn't I afraid you'd go see your sweetheart?" I checked. You were lying to me. I was speechless. "I'm doing this for your own good. My parents have that video. In their eyes, you're just a sucker." "You think I'm really afraid of that video? Even if your father dares to give it out, no media outlet would dare to publish it. At most, they'll crop some photos and spread some scandalous news about me." I asked him, "Since you don't care, then why did you suddenly say I was your wife?" Alexander touched my head. "I said it back then, didn't I? I've admired you for a long time, been secretly in love with you for years." I scoffed. "Don't lie to me. What do you really want? Let's be honest." Alexander sighed. "It's okay if you don't believe me now. I'll slowly prove it to you." I didn't respond. I didn't believe him. After arriving home, Alexander took out a glass-like imperial green jade bangle and put it on my wrist, holding my hand and admiring it. "Beautiful." He then took out a black card and handed it to me. "From now on, wife, remember to give me pocket money every month. Also, I've scheduled someone to come tomorrow to remodel your walk-in closet. Remember to greet them. Clothes from various brands will also be delivered tomorrow for you to choose from. Keep what you like. Tell the nanny what you like to eat. From now on, our house will cater to your tastes." I stared blankly at him, listening to his rambling words, and held back tears as I asked, "What do you really want to do? Please tell me the truth." I admitted I was a little scared. I couldn't accept getting everything and then losing it all again. Alexander scratched his head, his ears slightly red, and stammered, I like your kindness." "Kindness?" I mocked myself. "I've used my parents' toothbrushes to scrub the toilet bowl. I've given my brother laxatives that made him have diarrhea for 3 days. I deliberately used moldy, rotten fruit to make them juice, added disgusting ingredients to their food. Do you still think I'm kind? Every time they bullied me, I would secretly take revenge." "Yes, I still think you're great." Alexander suddenly hugged me. "I understand. You just couldn't take being bullied anymore." I cried my heart out in his arms, as if I was venting all the grievances of these years. After crying, Alexander brought me a glass of warm milk. "This will help you sleep." I took it, wiped my tears, and handed him the contract from my bag. "Take a look at this." It was the same contract from the morning. Alexander said, "If you want me to sign it, I will." No. I looked into his eyes and said word by word, I want you to bankrupt the Morrison family. After Grandpa passed away, my father, with only the $400,000 he inherited, became worth millions in just a few years. Everyone said my father had a talent for business, a late bloomer. If I hadn't just found that JDite appraisal certificate in my parents' room, I had seen that JD eat since I was little. My grandmother said she exchanged food for it during the Great Depression. It wasn't worth anything back then. Grandma said she would give it to me as a dowry when I got married. One day I came home from school and found Grandma collapsed on the ground covered in dust. That night, Grandma passed away. Her spleen ruptured, the JD8 was also gone. Ironically, I just found the appraisal certificate for that JD8 in my parents' room with a selling price of $150 million. They harmed Grandma and they must pay the price. Alexander moved quickly. He tampered with the contract. My father thought it was the contract he was giving me. Under the lure of heavy money, he signed it up without hesitation. 3 months later, my father's company's cash flow broke, and he was in a debt crisis, on the verge of bankruptcy. My parents and Marcus were frantically calling me. I simply turned off my phone. They couldn't get into the villa, and I was too lazy to go out. Alexander specially created a movie theater and a game room for me. I was having too much fun to think about anything else. Alexander couldn't be happier that I stayed home all day. He moved most of his work to the study and stuck to me whenever he wasn't working. He gave me the master bedroom and moved to the guest room himself. He smiled and said, I'll move back in when we get married. Interpersonal relationships take time. I was indeed moved by his meticulous care. Honestly, if we could maintain this state, I think it would be nice to live with him, although I still don't know why he likes me so much. Oh well, maybe the answer isn't that important. I just know I'm happy now. Another half-month passed, and Alexander told me that Morrison's company had declared bankruptcy. My parents couldn't get into the villa, so they squatted outside his company building every day. Before, they were cursing him every day, but now they were crying and begging him for money. It's just a pity that Grandma died so unjustly. I was a little curious again. Didn't they threaten you with a video? That's not like them. Alexander chuckled. I had someone hack into their computers and delete the video a long time ago. I breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. I don't want to be the star of that kind of movie. Alexander told me that night. Your parents bribed a waiter with $500,000 to steal my room card and put something in both of our glasses. Looking back, I really want to thank them for sending you to me. I snuggled in his arms, resting my head on his shoulder and nodding with a slight smile. How fortunate. When did I realize something was wrong? Probably when I went to the city library alone and spontaneously decided to visit a friend who worked at the front desk of Blue Moon KTV. Alexander's text message came. KTV is not safe. It's best not to stay too long. Got it. Strange, I didn't bring bodyguards when I went out. How did he know my whereabouts? Back home, I still remembered this. I'm always suspicious. Looking at the bracelet beads on the phone case, I carefully checked them one by one, and sure enough, one was different. After smashing it open, it was hollow, and there was a small tracker inside. I swallowed nervously, and the next second took off the anklet on my left foot and smashed it hard with a hammer. Sure enough, I found another one. I got up and pretended to stroll around the room and living room, but didn't miss any corner. 1, 2, 3, a full 7 surveillance cameras. What does Alexander mean by this? I sent the bodyguards away, telling them to go to the lake in the backyard to retrieve the pearls I had deliberately scattered. I slapped a sticky note on the coffee table and turned to leave. Goodbye. I deliberately chose main roads with surveillance cameras and went back to my parents' house. This house was their only property. My father and Marcus weren't home. My mother looked much more haggard, cooking. The image of a wealthy lady was completely gone. The moment I entered the door, she lunged at me, trying to hit me. You little bastard, you still dare to hide. You actually dared to join forces with that Sterling to deal with us. If I had known, I would have thrown you into the chamber pot the moment you were born. My mother's words made me feel like I was having a heart attack. Did you raise me for even a day? You threw me to Grandma the moment I was born and didn't pay a single penny for child support. Later, you brought me here, and wanted to trade me for money every day. I lived worse than a nanny in your house. At least nannies get paid and have time off. Did you treat me like a human being?" My mother's eyes were bloodshot. "You dog. It's already good enough that I gave you food to eat. What else do you want?" I couldn't be bothered to argue with her and turned to leave. My mother immediately grabbed me. "Don't go. Give me money. You have to support me in my old age." "Support you?" I was laughed at by her. "Did you and my father support my grandma in her old age? Your father wasn't born by your grandma. Why should I give her money for old age? Grandma raised father as her own son. There's nurturing, even if there's no birth. Not only did you not give her any money, you also stole her jade and killed her." My mother became extremely agitated. "Who killed her? Who killed her?" I just gave that old hag a little push. I was both angry and distressed, roaring she was old and in poor health. Could she withstand such a push from you? Her spleen ruptured and she died that night. "Did you know that?" My mother vehemently argued. I didn't mean to." "Who told her to hold on to the box so tightly? I already said I was borrowing it. That old hag just wouldn't give it to me. It's all her own fault." I looked at my mother, my eyes filled with disappointment. She was beyond redemption. I shouted towards the door, "Come in." The police broke down the door and restrained her. "Sophia Morrison, you actually dared to trick me into saying that. I'll beat you to death. I should have drowned you the moment you were born." I immediately hid far away, preventing her from touching me. My mother went completely crazy. I ignored her and said to the police, "You all heard everything just now, and I also recorded it. Please seek justice for my grandma." I watched my mother being taken away in a police car from a distance. Just as I was about to leave, Marcus suddenly rushed at me with a knife. In the nick of time, Alexander pulled me into his arms and kicked Marcus several meters away. I was so scared that my heart was racing and everything went black. I fainted. When I woke up again, it was already dark. I was about to get out of bed when I found that my feet were chained with iron chains. I pushed Alexander, who was sleeping next to me. "What are you doing? Are you a pervert?" Alexander kissed my cheek. "You have the nerve to say that. Marcus almost hurt you just now. Do you know you're pregnant?" "Pregnant?" I was a little surprised. "Pregnant after just one night? No wonder I've been feeling tired and not getting enough sleep lately." Alexander touched the iron chains on my feet. "Just think of me as a pervert. I really can't stand you leaving my sight. You almost got hurt this time." I looked at him and smiled. "You're a pervert? What a coincidence, so am I." Alexander's eyes were full of confusion. I kissed him and laughed. "I like that you put surveillance cameras everywhere in the house. I like that you put a tracker on me. I like that feeling of anxiety when you see I'm missing. I like your possessiveness towards me. I know this kind of psychology is a bit pathological, but I need it. I like it. Not only do I not feel uncomfortable, but I feel really good." Alexander was a little surprised and hugged me tightly. "Really? You really like me this way? I'm afraid that one day you won't be able to stand my possessiveness." I hugged him back. "Really, it's true. I like you aggressively invading my life. This is the kind of relationship I want. Alexander Sterling, I've thought it over. Let's get married." "Married?" He trembled as he pulled a ring from his pocket and slipped it onto my finger. "I've been carrying it with me every day, just waiting for the day you agreed." I nestled into his arms. "Lie with me for a little longer, okay? Let's get our marriage license tomorrow and we'll have the wedding after the baby is born, okay? I want to get facial scar revision surgery in the future, okay? I want to eat hot pot tonight, okay?" I glanced at him sideways. "Can you say anything besides okay?" Alexander kissed me again. "Wife, you're the boss in our house." I cupped his face in my hands and kissed him back, my heart racing with a mix of emotions I hadn't felt in years: hope, fear, and something dangerously close to love. "I'm seriously asking you something," I said, my voice soft but firm. "Why are you so good to me? Don't change the subject." Alexander's hand paused, his fingers gently tracing the scar on my face. His eyes softened, filled with a tenderness that made my chest tighten. "You really don't remember me, do you?" he said, his voice low and earnest. "When we were kids, I was the scrawny boy who used to sit alone at the edge of the playground at Willow Creek Elementary. You'd share your sandwiches with me every day, even when you barely had enough for yourself. That time, some older kids ganged up on me. You stepped in front of me and got that scar protecting me. You cried not because it hurt, but because you thought no one would ever want you with a mark like that. I promised you then, Sophia, that I'd marry you one day. That little freckle on your cheek, it's still as beautiful as ever. Memories flooded back like a tidal wave. My breath caught in my throat. You're Alex? Little Alex from Willow Creek. The boy who always carried that tattered sketchbook. I stared at him, my mind piecing together the fragments of a past I had buried under years of pain. How? How did you become Alexander Sterling? He chuckled, a bittersweet edge to it. The Sterlings adopted me after my parents abandoned me. They were kind at first, but when they had their own son, I became the spare. I fought tooth and nail to prove myself, took over the company, and built it into what it is today. But I never forgot you, Sophia. I spent years looking for you, and when I saw you at the gala, even with that scar, I knew it was you. I couldn't believe fate brought us back together, even if it was like this. I was stunned, my heart pounding. You recognized me right away. Why didn't you say anything? Alexander smirked, but there was a flicker of hurt in his eyes. You told me you had someone else you liked. I thought I'd lost my chance. But I wasn't going to let you go back to that hell with your parents, not after everything they've done to you. I laughed softly, shaking my head. That was a lie, Alex. There was no one else. I didn't know how to trust you. Or anyone. He pulled me closer, his forehead resting against mine. Then let me earn that trust, Sophia. I'm not going anywhere. The next morning we went to the courthouse to get our marriage license. It was a quiet affair, just us and a clerk who barely looked up from her paperwork. Alexander held my hand the entire time, his thumb brushing over the ring he had slipped onto my finger the night before. It felt surreal, like I'd stepped into someone else's life. But when he looked at me, his eyes steady and warm, I felt grounded. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of what came next. Back at the villa, Alexander insisted on celebrating. The dining room was transformed into a cozy setup with candles, a spread of my favorite foods, hot pot included, and a playlist of soft jazz that made the evening feel intimate. I couldn't help but tease him. You're pulling out all the stops, huh? Is this what being Mrs. Sterling is going to be like? He grinned, pouring me a glass of sparkling juice since I was pregnant. Only the best for my wife. Get used to it. As we ate, I caught myself smiling more than I had in years, but a nagging thought lingered. Alex, what about Marcus? He came at me with a knife, and my father. They're not just going to disappear. His expression darkened, but his voice remained calm. I've got people keeping an eye on them. Marcus is facing charges for attempted assault, and your father's debts are catching up to him. They won't touch you again, Sophia, I promise. I nodded, but the weight of my past still clung to me. I want to do something, I said slowly. For Grandma. She deserved better. I want to make sure her memory isn't tainted by what they did. Alexander reached across the table, squeezing my hand. Tell me what you want, and I'll make it happen. I want to start a foundation in her name, I said, the idea forming as I spoke. Something to help kids like me, left behind, forgotten, used, kids who need someone to believe in them. I want her legacy to be love, not what they turned it into. He smiled, his eyes shining with pride. Done. We'll set it up together. The Sophia and Grandma Morrison Foundation. Has a nice ring to it, don't you think? I laughed, tears prickling my eyes. You're too much. Only for you, he said, leaning over to kiss me. Over the next few months, life settled into a rhythm I never thought I'd have. The foundation took shape with Alexander's resources and my determination driving it forward. We held our first fundraiser, and I spoke publicly for the first time about my grandmother's life and what she meant to me. The scar on my face, which I'd once hated, became a symbol of resilience, a story of survival that inspired others. I hadn't decided on the scar revision surgery yet. Part of me wanted to keep it, a reminder of who I was and how far I'd come. Alexander was true to his word, doting on me in ways that made my heart ache with gratitude. He'd leave little notes around the villa, reminders to eat, to rest, or just to smile. He'd sneak into the game room when I was playing, pretending to be terrible at Mario Kart just to make me laugh. And every night, he'd hold me close, whispering promises about our future, our baby, our life together. But the trackers and cameras, they stayed. At first, I didn't mind. I'd meant what I said. I liked his possessiveness, the way it made me feel wanted after a lifetime of being discarded. But as my pregnancy progressed, a small voice in my head began to wonder if it was healthy. Was this love, or was it control? I pushed the thought away, focusing on the happiness we were building. One evening, as we sat in the movie theater he'd built for me, watching an old rom-com, I turned to him. Alex, do you still have people watching me? The trackers, the cameras, are they still there? He stiffened slightly, then nodded. They're there, but it's only because I need to know you're safe. After what Marcus did, after everything your parents put you through, I can't risk losing you. I took a deep breath. I get it, I do, but I need to know you trust me too. I'm not going anywhere. Can we maybe scale it back? Just a little? He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, for you I'll try, but if anything feels off, I'm putting them back. I smiled, leaning into him. Deal? As long as you're the one putting the shackles on me. He laughed, pulling me into his lap. You're impossible, Sophia Sterling. And you love it, I teased, kissing him. A year later, our daughter was born. We named her Lily, after my grandmother's favorite flower. She had Alexander's dark hair and my freckles, and every time I looked at her, I felt like my heart might burst. The wedding was small but perfect, held in the villa's garden with fairy lights and a handful of close friends. I'd opted for scar revision surgery a few months before, not to erase my past, but to step into my future with confidence. The scar was still there, faint but present, a quiet reminder of my strength. The foundation was thriving, helping dozens of kids already, and I'd started taking online classes to finish my degree. Alexander supported me every step of the way, even when I insisted on doing things myself. My parents and Marcus were out of our lives, my mother in prison, my father drowning in debt, and Marcus under strict probation. I didn't wish them ill, but I didn't miss them either. They were my past, and I was finally free to build my future. One night, as we tucked Lily into her crib, Alexander wrapped his arms around me from behind. You know, he whispered, I used to think I'd never deserve someone like you, but every day you make me believe I can be the man you need. I turned to face him, my hands resting on his chest. You already are, Alex. You always were. He kissed me, slow and deep, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly home. If you liked this incredible story, please like and subscribe to the channel to see even more of it.